My name is Liz Easton, and I'm the Canon to the Ordinary for the Diocese of Nebraska. The first time that I came to Nebraska was through the Episcopal Service Corps program. We had a program here in Omaha called Resurrection House, which was geared toward young adults discerning what God might be calling them to do with their lives after college and sort of before making big career and vocational decisions. So I came out here and did that program just because I kind of needed that extra year of discernment. I was already feeling called to the priesthood, but did not feel ready to go to seminary right after college. Honestly, probably could not have picked out Nebraska on a map. I didn't know how to drive, so I had to learn how to drive and drive across the country. Discerned a call to the priesthood and was supported in that, and went to seminary, sponsored through the Diocese of Olympia. And I drove away from Omaha. I remember it very vividly in my rear view, watching that little house sort of disappear and thinking, how funny, I will probably never step foot in Nebraska again. And then, of course, God had different plans. Having grown up on the West Coast, and particularly in the Pacific Northwest, I probably didn't think a whole lot about the middle of the country, and particularly the Plain States. So if someone would have asked me, I probably would have thought of Little House on the Prairie. Big skies, for sure. Flatness, I remember thinking, it's going to be totally flat. And of course, that's not true at all. Growing up in such a progressive environment, I'm sure that I had assumptions about politics and culture and diversity. None of those have played out in quite the way that I expected them to. Probably the thing that has surprised me the most about Nebraska shouldn't have been a surprise. It was the thing that people told me about, which is how friendly and outgoing and truly kind-hearted the people are. There's a warmth here and an extension of self that I didn't experience. Church life is remarkably not political. I don't mean partisan politics. People are struggling with the same political divisions that the rest of the country is, and that's happening in a real way. Church politics are really second to the gospel in an appropriate way that wasn't always my experience in other places. So that has been a real gift. The thing to know about any city is that it has all the problems of every city. So we have all of the gifts and diversity of a city anywhere in the country, and we also have all of the challenges. We have issues here in Omaha around poverty and homelessness. That's a big issue. Terrible lack of public transportation and a real need for advocacy and opportunities to step into real transformational ministry with folks living on the margins, which is what we're all called to do as Christians. We also have all of the opportunities that every city has. Omaha consistently finds itself on those lists of best cities to raise a family in, or best cities to be an entrepreneur, or best cities to be a young adult. And the reason for that, I would imagine, is mostly about cost of living. We have a very, very low cost of living in terms of housing. You even notice it in the grocery store. When I have friends who are visiting from out of town, they're like, I can't believe apples cost so little here, or whatever it is. So for that reason, it's a pretty great place to get a start. Omaha is a restaurant town. We have tons of restaurants. I think I've heard that there are more restaurants per capita in Omaha, Nebraska than any other place in the country. We have excellent museums and theater, all the things. I mean, we have all the things. The Diocese of Nebraska is a diverse diocese in every way, but we also are a diocese of small churches, and that means different things for different people. Serving in a small diocese means that there's all kinds of access to leadership, and also all kinds of ways that the diocese can actually affect change. There's very little red tape, very few policies, a lot of best practices, and a lot of freedom, I think, to sort of try being the church in a new way, and in a way that we're being called to be right now. We all know that the Episcopal Church is changing rapidly, and folks are looking ahead to a future where resources are smaller, cultural expectations about church attendance and all the rest are sort of rapidly disappearing. And in many parts of the country where the Episcopal Church is more established, that future is known, but is not necessarily a lived reality. It's sort of a scary tomorrow. We experienced population shifts that affected church life in a way similar to what the Episcopal Church is anticipating more than a generation ago. So what I find really compelling about the church in Nebraska, and I think that this is true throughout the Midwest. The churches in this part of the country have already learned how to adapt. That's part of the scrappy nature of who we are. Our churches are experienced innovators. To me, that has been a very exciting context in which to do ministry. It's sort of like we're on the leading edge of this change, and we're doing really well. We're proving that it is possible. That doesn't mean that it's not hard. It can be very hard, but it is pioneering in a sense that speaks to our history and also to our future. What is the middle? It's not New York or San Francisco. That's it.
But it's pretty much anything else.
It's right. It's pretty much anything other than New York and San Francisco. No shade to New York or San Francisco. Lovely cities.